Tonight, Toronto announces a long list of closures amid a growing number of coronavirus cases.
Community and recreation centers, greenhouses and conservatories, arenas, pools, fitness centers, and ski hills are closed.
And it's not just city services. We'll tell you what else is closed and for how long. Plus,
it's crazy in there.
Yeah, there's no pasta, there's no rice, there's no canned goods.
chaotic scenes at grocery stores across the GTA as more and more people look to stockpile supplies. And the scene from the airport on what should have been one of the busiest travel days of the year as the government urges people to stay at home. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Toronto will be a very different kind of city this weekend and for the next few weeks after that. In a bid to slow the spread of COVID-19, the city announced a sweeping closure of city services and buildings, already building upon numerous other closures. We start our coverage tonight with Kelda Yoon.
The announcement came late this afternoon, sweeping closures across the city.
City-operated March break camps are canceled. All licensed child care centers, community and recreation centers, greenhouses and conservatories, arenas, pools, fitness centers, and ski hills are closed. Libraries are closed.
The closures will begin Saturday and last until at least April 5th. On top of that, the Toronto Zoo and the ROM will also be closed until April 5th. The Ontario Science Centre until April 6th. The CN Tower won't reopen until April 14th, though right beside it, Ripley's Aquarium will remain open, at least for now.
I am making these recommendations based on the available science and evidence.
The city's chief medical officer of health also advising anyone who travels outside Canada to self-isolate for 14 days.
So it is a strong recommendation. This is what we're asking our public to do, and of course, that includes employers and businesses. We are seeing an escalation of cases that are being brought into our city via travel.
Not long after, Mayor John Tory made this statement.
Having returned from a business mission on behalf of the city in London, England on Wednesday, I will be going into self-isolation.
As for public transit, it's still running, even though the province recommended suspending gatherings of 250 people.
Mass transit was not contemplated in that recommendation, that it's not meant to be included in that recommendation.
However, with more people working at home, GO Transit is scaling back due to an anticipated 30 to 40% drop in ridership.
7 of our train lines will maintain up express service, most of our bus routes and that sort of thing. But what we're going to do is just reduce them somewhat, so we plan ahead for if the pandemic spreads as they anticipate it will. We probably will start to see a reduction in the number of employees that we have available.
While many city buildings and services will be closed beginning tomorrow, emergency services will keep operating. This includes police, fire, paramedics, garbage, recycling, and water operations will also keep functioning. Shelter and respite centers will remain open. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
And this is a look at the city's emergency operations center. It is the nerve center where city leaders stay in constant touch with frontline workers, from paramedics to the fire department to the TTC, all to make sure they have the support they need as the situation escalates. The center is now operating 24 hours a day, just like it did during crises like the ice storm and SARS. Well, the province confirmed 20 new cases of COVID-19 today, bringing the total in Ontario to 79. In an attempt to slow the spread, colleges and universities are canceling classes and moving instruction online. And the province is now recommending against non-essential out-of-country travel. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more on that.
Just hours before health officials warned against it, these travelers jetted off on their international vacations.
Lots of hand sanitizer and masks and all of that kind of stuff, so it's different this year. We're otherwise excited.
Ontario's medical officer of health is now strongly advising you to avoid all non-essential travel outside of Canada. The same message from the country's top public health doctor too.
By making the choice to stay at home and not travel outside of Canada, you are protecting yourself, your family, and doing your part to help us slow the spread of coronavirus and protect the most vulnerable in our communities.
Under Ontario's new rules, children who do leave Canada will be required to self-isolate for 14 days on their return. It's not the only new directive from Ontario's top doctor. He recommends that all large events and public gatherings of more than 250 people should be immediately suspended. He asked all universities and colleges to consider putting classes online. Many universities quickly did just that, including U of T, York, Carleton, and Western.
Now, clearly, we're taking measures to try to slow down the local spread of the disease, which is absolutely critical.
All licensed childcare centers are being told to screen all children, staff, and visitors for any symptoms or travel history related to COVID-19. While the province has not ordered daycares to shut down, school boards in Toronto and elsewhere announced closures today. Also, new guidelines on who should get tested for coronavirus. That includes people who've both been in contact with a confirmed case and are showing symptoms. As well, hospital patients, long-term care residents, or healthcare workers who come down with an acute respiratory illness.
I worked through the SARS as a bedside nurse.
The head of the province's nurses union questions whether Ontario's health system was prepared for this new pandemic.
I think we're behind the 8 ball and we're trying to catch up.
Late this afternoon, the province's top bureaucrats sent out this memo to the 50,000 members of the Ontario Public Service, urging them to work remotely, if they can, for the next 3 weeks. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
If you've tried to go grocery shopping in the last few days, you may have seen some pretty long lineups and plenty of empty shelves. Experts say there is no reason for that, and they are urging people to avoid panic shopping this weekend. Lisa Shing has more.
Toilet paper, paper towels, canned goods, even meat. All sections of many grocery stores in Ontario empty. Some shoppers only came for a few items. Instead, their weekly grocery routine was anything but.
It's crazy in there. I really didn't believe it. You know, I heard about it, but lots of the shelves are empty.
Others were on more of a mission.
We don't know how these grocery stores are going to handle such high influx of people coming in, and so we decided to get as much as possible today.
But a lot of the goods were already gone by the time they got there.
We wanted to stock up on like frozen vegetables. There were none left, absolutely nothing. All the shelves are cleared. Yeah, there's no pasta, there's no rice, there's no canned goods. No chicken, almost no meat at all. So basically whatever was left that we could have gotten.
The No Frills by our house is there was like a 45-minute wait to get in, so we had to come here.
The same story across the city and country, with chaotic scenes inside and outside of grocery stores, as more and more people are stockpiling supplies, fearing COVID-19 will continue to spread. At this Loblaws at Queen and Portland, reports of a scuffle between two people, one of whom had a gun. It didn't seem to be related to a shortage of supplies, but nevertheless, it added to a stressful day for the employees who intervened.
He got dragged down one full aisle,
and
then up to the front, yeah.
He's a pretty strong dude, I'll give him that, but I'm glad we got him. It just shows that we gotta all just be together, man. Like, it's the only way to beat this crap. Oops, sorry. It's the only way to beat this stuff. Like, you just gotta be together.
Demand at independent stores is also up, according to vendors who supply them at the Ontario Food Terminal.
We have seen a recent spike in business, and when I say recent, I'm talking about yesterday and today, about a 25 to 40% increase.
But prices aren't up yet because it's March break and typically there's more stock because families go away on vacation. This consumer psychology expert explains the phenomenon of panic buying.
People are in that context trying to take control of the situation, trying to engage in human scale activity that will, one, give them practical protections, and two, will give them a sense of control over a seemingly chaotic and uncertain situation.
So experts unequivocally say do not panic buy and do not hoard, using Italy as an example. Considering the scale of the situation there, there's still supplies and food in its grocery stores. And the reason they suggest this is simply because it's good manners, so that there's more food and supplies to go around for everyone. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Suzanne Leonard joined us now with her first look at the forecast. It wasn't fun walking down the street today with the wind kicking up all the dust and getting into my eyes.
Little sandblasting,
A little bit,
exfoliation. Yeah. It was a very blustery day, and that front came roaring through this morning. We hit our high at Pearson, 8 degrees at around 7 a.m. and about 20 minutes later, a cold front passed and the temperatures, they held on, but the humidity started to drop off, the moisture levels as that cooler, fresher air mass moved in. And it's been all about the wind today. The precipitation, the rainfall was pretty spotty through the overnight. It came to an end. We had clouds racing across the skies today. We'll still see the gusts quite strong through the overnight, through Saturday morning, 40, 50 kilometers an hour, gradually diminishing. The winds out of the north for Saturday and for Sunday. And you know what that means? That means some cooler air is going to be settling in. We'll get into the long-range forecast in just a moment, but some sunshine as we look ahead to Saturday, Mike.
Sunshine on Saturday. Looking forward to that. Thanks a lot, Suzanne.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, for those wanting to see some warmer weather this time of year, the start of March break is usually quite busy at Pearson. But with fears over the coronavirus and that warning against international travel, it was unusually quiet today. Natalie Nanowski has the latest.
Pearson Airport is nowhere near as packed as you'd expect the Friday before March break. This was last year. And check out the lines in 2018. Today, there's plenty of kiosks open and some travelers determined to go on vacation despite the government's warning.
This is something that we've been working towards, and as long as we all stay, healthy and be mindful, I'm not too worried.
But others didn't want to risk it and came to the airport to cancel.
We made a decision to come by today and fix it, right? Because Air Canada, we can't call them. So phone lines are off. You can't reschedule over the phone, so everybody's pretty much here. We've been waiting for over 4 hours.
Most airlines have updated their cancellation policies following the government's request. Air Canada is now offering a free one-time change to any flight, or customers can cancel their trip for a full credit. They just have to use it before the end of the year. WestJet is also offering a free one-time change, or cancel and get WestJet dollars. Flight Centre and Sunwing are also offering changes, but many people haven't been able to get through to their call centers, so they don't know exactly how this is going to play out.
We already committed to the money and the trips, so if they allow us to go at a different time, we're up for that.
So all of the airlines and travel agencies say that they are aware of the longer wait times and they're apologizing to customers, but they do stress that this is a very fluid and unprecedented situation. They also say that they are offering cancellations or rebookings for anyone traveling until the end of April, but they stress don't try and call and rebook unless it's 72 hours before your trip. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, a CBC News investigation. This Toronto man says TD Bank lost his RRSP, potentially worth $100,000. That story after the break. A report looking into accusations of racism at the Peel District School Board came out today. 3 reviewers reporting to the education minister after hearing from hundreds of people to compile their report. Lorena Redekop has more on what they found and the reaction.
Shame!
Shame on you.
83%.
It's become heated as Black parents have urged the Peel District School Board to do something about racism.
Fight for Black students.
Now this report to the education minister
unveils a deep-seated culture of discrimination, racism that is deeply disturbing, to be quite frank.
While Black students are 10% of the board's population, they make up 22% of school suspensions, including children as young as 4. Among the examples the report found, a principal, in response to a pizza meeting for Black students, saying not one of those students was worth the price of pizza. Plus, inappropriate nicknames for schools. Even an elected school board official referred to McCrimmon Middle School as McCriminal.
And I want the board to know that we're watching them and expect them to implement these recommendations, knowing that I have additional powers should I need.
Among the 29 recommendations, the board immediately issue a public apology for the McCrimmon Middle School incident, mediation for all trustees to address and resolve dysfunction, and a 4-year strategy to address disproportionate outcomes for Black and other racialized students. The Peel District School Board agreed to act on the recommendations in a statement saying it is clear that many individuals have been negatively affected over the years, and we apologize for the trauma and hurt they've experienced. Charlene Grant has been to a Peel Board meeting.
Sitting in that room, I was blown away by how embedded it is in the system and how even the dysfunction of the trustees.
She's a parent from York Region, where a trustee called her the N-word and later resigned.
Doesn't matter what city you're from or what area, when we talk to parents, we hear the same stories.
She'd like a larger provincial review of what's happening. Lorena Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A Toronto man is accusing TD Bank of losing his retirement savings. The bank denies it, but the man claims the missing money would likely be worth about $100,000. John Lancaster has the details.
Bob Grossman's problems started last spring. A few weeks before his 60th birthday, he went to this TD branch at Yonge and Sheppard to check on his retirement savings plan. What he found out floored him.
For some reason or strange reason, my profile was empty and they couldn't find my RSP.
He spent the last year fighting TD to find out what happened. Grossman gave the bank copies of his RRSP statements and tax documents showing that as far back as 1996, he had more than $37,000 invested. That could be worth more than $100,000 today. But in documents Grossman shared with CBC News, the bank insisted it had no records on file about his RSP. After CBC News called TD this week, it told the 60-year-old it found some documentation after all. It says Grossman did have a TD RSP, but he closed it in 2000 after the funds were withdrawn. TD didn't provide him with any detailed documentation, just a 4-line ledger claiming he withdrew the funds 20 years ago.
It just tells me that on June 29, 2000, there is no money in my RSP.
Because it was withdrawn, they say.
They said on here, withdrawal, interest credit, closed account, end of day balance.
Did you withdraw that money?
No.
Grossman supplied CBC News with Canada Revenue Agency documents that appear to show if the RRSP had been cashed, TD Bank didn't report it to the CRA as the bank was obligated to do. The bank says it couldn't have closed the RRSP without Grossman's consent. He says he never gave consent to anyone to cash it in.
I figure it's secure. The money's secure. I'm not looking for a big return, just a safe return. And what happens? The money's gone.
TD Bank declined to respond to specific questions from CBC News, but says it stands by its original investigation last year. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, remember, if you have a story you'd like us to look into, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. And after the break, Suzanne Leonard joins us again with a look at your long-range forecast. Our first look at what the weather will be like for March break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Suzanne Leonard is back with her extended forecast. Looking forward to some sunny weather tomorrow.
It's going to be a great weekend, actually, Mike, as we talk about, social distancing and the need to get out and the need to put some space around us. This is going to be a good weekend for that. Now, we're not going to be as warm as our record highs or our record cold. Our average this time of year, +3, -6. And we're counting down to the spring equinox next Thursday. 9 centimeters of snow, 8.6 record for this date. It is going to be a dry weekend for us. The winds are still with us through the initial part of the forecast. Through the overnight, we drop down to just below 0, southwestern Ontario. Similar kind of trend up around the Golden Horseshoe with a mix of sun and cloud for just about everyone for tomorrow. So a crisp start if you're heading out in the morning hours. The winds will be backing towards the north. So for Saturday and for Sunday, that crisp feel, which is typical this time of year. There's an abundance of Arctic air to our north and west, and some of that is filtering our way. What's left of our windstorm is well off to the east. We've got some active weather in western Canada. Watch southern Ontario, a few passing clouds at times. We've got the chance of a sprinkle as we get to Tuesday night into Wednesday, but overall it's a dry forecast. Long range, good weather for being outside, for being out and about. It is March break, the beginning of course, a very extended March break, and our 5-day forecast looks something like this. Our daytime highs, remembering, are 3 degrees at this time of year. We're up and down, and that's typical in springtime as that warmer air surges in from the north and the cold Arctic air slowly starts to retreat. And of course, the strength of the sun is much stronger at this time of year. We're breezy to start the day on Saturday. I'd expect gusts still in the 20 to 30 kilometer an hour range, but diminishing as the day goes on. But the colder air gets another 24 hours to get entrenched, which is why our daytime high on Sunday is just +1, and our overnight lows, they're near normal. Couple of disturbances moving in. We're going to, by the end of the week, be in that battleground between colder air masses to the north and warmer air masses to the south. So expect just off this map, the Thursday could end up being rather stormy, the potential even for some freezing rain in the extended long range. But overnight Monday, chance of a flurry. Tuesday day, chance of a shower. Temperature up, temperature down, all pretty typical ups and downs, Mike, for springtime and late winter weather.
Okay, I'll take it. Thanks a lot, Suzanne.
Thanks.
Well, coming up, with the entire country under a lockdown, we take a look at how some Italians are finding ways to connect with each other through song. The 60 million people who live in Italy have been dealing with a countrywide lockdown all week, and some are finding creative ways to come together, including musical performances from their balconies. CBC's Megan Williams has more from her own balcony in Rome.
The national anthem is blasting. My neighbors are clapping every direction. You can't see them all, but everybody's out to show solidarity and to break through the sense of isolation that has settled down on this country like a dark cloud. It's an expression of solidarity with all of the people who are shut in their homes and all of the people who are struggling with illness right now. This country is a country renowned the world over for its physical affection, for coming together in piazzas, for its gioia di vita. And this is just one way that it's expressing this in a very difficult time. There'll be another one tomorrow night with a different song, and even Sunday night, il cielo diventa sempre più azzurro. The sky keeps getting bluer. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
A nice way to end our newscast for tonight and for the week, and what a week it has been. You know, there are some programming changes on CBC this weekend. With no hockey night in Canada, you can catch a double bill of Bon Cop, Bad Cop and its sequel. And instead of the Junos on Sunday, you can catch a marathon of Schitt's Creek episodes. Lots of new stuff to stream on CBC Gem as well. I'm off for March break, so have a great weekend. Good night.